One of the things that is so striking about mental health recovery, mental health treatment today for things like addiction and anxiety and depression is how bad we are at it, how low the rates of recovery really are. Here's some examples. So first, recovery rates from addiction. This is from a treatment center, but the statistics here are fairly commonly shared. People who get treatment from a self-directed kind of support group, only 5 to 10% find long-term recovery. Those who go to outpatient rehab, 18%. And those who go to inpatient rehab, 21%. That's discouraging. With anxiety treatment, Psychology Today reports that those who attend psychotherapy for generalized anxiety disorder, of those who get that treatment, 57% find recovery, quote unquote. I'm not exactly sure how they define that, but 57%, which means 43% who get treatment don't find recovery. When it comes to depression, the Harvard Health Newsletter reports that if people are treated with medication, there's a 50% success rate. And if they are treated with cognitive behavioral therapy, the therapy treatment success rate is 50% as well. Now, stick with me in this video because we're going to revisit these statistics when we add another variable in them, all right? The title of this video is What Your Doctor Won't Tell You and What Your Therapist Doesn't Know. And this has to do with a phenomena that I noticed when I made the switch from being a pastor full-time to working in a recovery ministry, to being the director of training for a Christian recovery organization. And in that work, I, of course, immersed myself in the study of addiction and recovery. And I noticed a phenomena that I began to realize has huge implications. So here's how it works. If you were to talk to people in different fields of study, fields of expertise about what is addiction, what's at the root of it, and how does someone recover, you would hear different answers from these different people, and the answer would be built around their own field of study. Right? So if you talk to a psychiatrist or psychologist rather about it, they would say, well, it's about early life trauma, and the process of recovery involves helping people. The requirement is to help them deal with that early life trauma. A spiritual teacher, they would say, well, it's really a spiritual issue, and the issue, what you need to do to help people recover is to overcome those spiritual questions and to, get the power of God in their life to help them overcome it. Someone in the with a medical background would focus on the neurochemistry. See, we all have this tendency, like Abraham Maslow said, he who is a hammer tends to think everything is a nail. And so if you have a focus of study and work in a particular field, you think that's going to help everybody, and that's kind of what the main issue is. And the reality is, we as human beings are multifaceted people, multidimensional people. There are different spheres of our lives, different areas of our lives. And with mental struggles, addiction, and I think this is also true with things like depression, with things like anxiety, those issues touch on a variety of dimensions of our lives. Now, what'll happen is, for some people, one particular dimension of their life, let's say their neurochemistry is because of genetics has been off, right? And the medical intervention is going to be super helpful for them. Maybe someone else, the main thing is early life trauma. And so going to the therapist might help that person, but the medical stuff isn't as big of an issue for them. Each of us in our various spheres can find certain pockets of people whose main issue is the issue that we specialize in. But that doesn't mean that this is the one area that everybody needs to recover from addiction, because all of us have multiple things. And the other thing that happens is someone comes to me and I can help them with a particular issue or particular dimension of their life, but there's other things that need attention and focus as well. And the more that I can understand, the more that any expert or someone from a particular field can understand their work in the context of the others, the better off everyone's going to be. When I was figuring this out or really being struck by this, I ran across a novel by Michael Crichton called The Great Train Robbery. And it's about Victorian England. These people are robbing a train, and there's this big safe, and they have to break into the safe. And in that time, the technology they had was limited. So to make a safe unbreakable, what they would do is put multiple locks in it. And so that upped the security, because they would then entrust a key to the various locks to different people. And so the Great Train Robbery, the whole plot is about these guys trying to connect with the different managers of I think it was like 5 different keys. They had to get a hold of each of those keys in order to get into the safe. Well, that's what recovery is as a mental health issue. I think that's what a recovery from depression or relief from depression, what anxiety, all these things, these require multiple keys. To be helpful to people, we need to appreciate and help people find healing and recovery in these various dimensions. Now, I'm a pastor, and the focus of my life and the work that I do is helping people deal with spiritual issues. And I have come to see that they are really important when it comes to mental health challenges, mental health struggles. Coming to terms with issues about meaning and purpose in life, our place in the world, getting some kind of meaningful understanding of and connection with power greater than ourselves. I mean, these are super important when it comes to dealing with questions of anxiety, when it comes to dealing with questions of, meaningless and purposelessness that often lies at the heart of depression. When it comes to developing the strength and ongoing support for recovery, I mean, these are huge issues. But I fully understand there's other things going on as well, and that I, in working with people in their spiritual life, need to be helping them get help, find help in the other dimensions of their life as well. And there are many people, especially these days, who have mental health struggles and are getting help for their mental health struggles in other dimensions and are not paying attention to the spiritual issues. So do you remember those dismal statistics for recovery that I was mentioning earlier for various mental disorders? Well, those same articles each pointed to better statistics when there are multiple issues being dealt with or multiple disciplines at play. For example, when it comes to addiction recovery, if you recall, people who did the self-directed 12-step groups only had a 5 to 10% recovery rate. Outpatient rehab, 18%. Inpatient rehab, 21%. Well, if people were a part of longer-term holistic recovery rehab that involved different issues than just the specific psychological ones, the success rate jumped up to 80%. In terms of the recovery from anxiety disorders, remember I had said 57% found recovery after being a part of psychotherapy. Well, the rates for people whose experience involved not only psychotherapy, but also spiritual guidance or turning to religious or spiritual practices, had a 36% higher likelihood of experiencing or moving into what they defined as excellent mental health as part of their recovery than those who just use one other kind of treatment. And the article from the Harvard Medical School, citing statistics about recovery from depression, about half of the people finding significant relief from medication, about half experiencing significant relief from cognitive behavioral therapy. Well, those who combined those two, about 73% experienced significant relief. So here's the takeaway. It's very simple, but it may very well be a game changer for you if you have been struggling with some kind of mental health challenge and you've been seeking help and getting help from one or maybe a couple of modalities, but it continues to be an ongoing issue. Maybe there's another key that you need. Maybe there's another dimension of your life that's out of balance, that needs more attention. And by doing that, you can find long-term, sustainable restoration and recovery. Give that some thought, give that some attention, and keep watching this channel. We'll have more information about these and related issues.